Good morning and welcome to Your Pet Matters. I'm your host, Michael Dr. T. Tokiwa. And, one of the most frustrating things that I have as both the pet parent and the clinician is talking about what's the best pet insurance. And even my team is struggling. And we get inundated with all these companies and we just don't know what's a good fit because everything is different and all our needs and all our pet needs are different. Well, on today's show, that's going to change because you and I and my team are going to have some help. My special guest today is Catherine Denning. She is the co-founder of Fursure, and the website's getfursure.com. It is a pet insurance brokerage company, and they can help you and literally match you with the best pet insurance for your pet. So, Catherine, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Michael. Excited to be here.
Yeah. And, at the beginning of the show, I want to introduce both my listening and viewing audience to individuals such as yourself. And, just looking a little bit at your history, you went from Princeton, which is East Coast, then to Facebook, wherever you worked from there. And now you're on the West Coast, co-founding a pet insurance brokerage company. So how did this all begin?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit about my background. I actually was born and raised in Hong Kong. I spent 18 years growing up there before coming to the US for college. Went to Princeton, which is where I met my co-founder, Kurji, about 10-ish years ago. And while I was in college, I started a company. I thought it was crazy that nightlife wasn't on our phone. So I went down that rabbit hole of trying to solve that problem for folks, finding where great live music and happy hours were. Of course, that didn't work out. And then after college, I worked at Facebook as a senior PM on both the newsfeed and ads teams. I learned a ton and had amazing impact on the world. It was crazy being there for the first half. The world loved Facebook, the latter half, not so much. But I always knew that I wanted to get back to building something for people that I love and respect. For me, it's really falling in love with who we're building and solving problems for. And Fursure really got started because of that. So I quit my job and I, just to give you a little bit of background on Fursure, I had a cat named Simba, and Simba was my pride and my joy. I still call every single human that I love in my life. So my parents, my sister, my boyfriend, my best friends, I call them all Yimba, Yimby, and Simba. That's my term of endearment. And for me, because this was kind of the first time that I was really personally responsible for caring for a life, it hit me really hard when he got sick. And I still remember the day we took him in to see the vet and he was diagnosed with lymphosarcoma cancer, and treatment cost $12,000. And I remember being floored, and maybe I'm an idiot. I was pretty young, but I had no idea that cats even could get cancer. Like the thought just never crossed my mind that was something that I should prepare for or plan for or try to prevent in some way, get checked up beforehand. And so I was very ill-equipped. And I think really what should have been a medical decision was very much a financial one because it cost over 10 grand. And the most traumatizing thing is within a week and a half, Simba ended up passing away. So that experience really, really stuck with me. I think there was some guilt involved in that. And there was definitely just, I just didn't really know what I didn't know. And so fast forward the years later, finished college, was kind of getting my career started. And I knew I was ready to get another pet. And I was actually volunteering at the SFSPCA, this shelter in the Bay Area with my now co-founder. And we're just hanging out with the dogs and the cats and spending time with pet owners. And turns out so many people have their own stories, right? Like they were saying, oh, I was just going about my day and then my dog tore his ACL and now I'm out $7,000. And it's just shocking to me that simple things not simple things, but it's common things can cost a ton of money. And so I just became really passionate about helping people become aware of how expensive things can be. And then I discovered insurance existed. I know this is getting a long-winded story, but I'm like, wait, why did I not know that this existed when I had Simba? And I was just shocked. And so I started talking to all of my friends who had pets and I'm like, do you have pet insurance? And of course they're like, oh no, but should I? And with 2 bits of information on what it is, 15 of my friends signed up. So I knew that there was something interesting here that I kept kind of poking into. So I buckled down, did a ton of research on pet insurance, like learned from all the fine print who are the good companies, who are the not so good companies, what should we expect from coverage when we sign up, and also, to your point, what makes the most sense for your specific dog or cat's age, breed, gender, zip code, and your personal financial situation, because a lot of us have a budget range in mind. So long story short, we're Fursure. We help people find the best option, and there's a whole host of other things that we want to do down the line. But this is the first problem that I see a lot of people have pain points with.
Yeah, it's so funny. You are actually point on. So my radio show exists, and the whole format exists because it initiated because it's based out of Rider University. I work with a lot of students, and I can't tell you how many of them said, "You mean there's like an eye specialist for a pet?" Things like that. So that just started my whole networking career with every referral center. As you know, in the Princeton area, I've got so many referral centers that I just started networking with every specialist there and having them as guests on the show. And so it became a general quest to explain that all this exists out there. And then to your second point about pricing, absolutely, right? So pets are completely different, and yet the medicine we provide as veterinarians is incredibly similar to human medicine. And because human medicine has so much pet insurance, that whole concept of cost is gone. And so we only concentrate on our copay, and we show up and there's a copay and you get all the stuff done. And then, some people may look at what the bill actually is and most people don't, right? And then we go from there. So I think you're not alone. I think the timing of everything in your life happens for a reason. And I'm blown away that your friends all said, never heard of pet insurance, didn't know what it was. Because in the old days when I started practicing, it was like, hey, save some money, put some money in the bank every month, right? But then you could blow that in a day at a referral center right now, right? So
Absolutely.
it's
so true.
just amazing. It is just
especially
amazing.
an emergency situation. And I think what you want to do is not have to worry about having stacks of 5-10 grand lying around, because if one bad thing happens, what if there's multiple? And dogs and cats, just like humans, they get sick and hurt, you know what I mean? And things happen, and you want to be able to prepare for those and do the best that you possibly can. You don't want to feel the guilt that I felt. Like because at that point, what are you going to do? Not pay? So I think that there's definitely a lot of room for innovation on this front, but then also just simply bringing more transparency and awareness and personalization to this particular space.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually went through the number one comment that pet insurance has talked to me about is making a decision between the betterment of my pet's health and finances, and that struggle that exists there. And I tell clients, I say, it's so amazing how few people actually have pet insurance in this nation for their pets. And I tell clients, when I tell them, I say, listen, if there's an emergency situation, you have to go to one of the referral centers, you might be paying $1,000 a day. And the look on their face is just, what, right? It's just amazing, right? So, but I think that through your system, I think helping parents, a lot of people go, well, what insurance do you recommend? And my answer is, because it's like, but I don't know what's best for you. I have this, I literally, and I'm going to have to be blatantly honest with you. I'm on pet plan for my dog because I loved the rep who then left the company. That's the reason why I have pet plan. And it's like, and I can't in good conscience tell people, get pet plan. I can't. It's one of those things. So when we connected, I'm blown away, and I'm excited about this. And I mentioned that I was going to talk to my team at our last meeting Tuesday, and they just the eyes just went. So
that makes me so happy.
It is so cool. So what we'll do is we'll take a short break right now, and we'll come back and let's talk about how the system works. You're listening to Your Pet Matters right here on 1077thebronc.com.
Time, I think he would be so happy to know the impact that he is having and we are having in the world, Yeah,
awesome. Okay, so let's go to segment 2. Here we go. Welcome back. And if you're just joining us, my special guest today is one of the co-founders of what I believe is one of the most unique businesses out there, and in desperate need of our profession and for you pet parents. Did you know that less than 2% of all people actually have pet insurance for their pets in North America? Less than 2%. And that really gives us a struggle, both as pet parents and as veterinarians, about providing the best medical care for your pet, because everything does revolve around how much is this going to cost. And so with pet insurance, that whole discussion kind of hits the back burner. It enables you as a pet parent to say, do what's best medically. It enables me as a practitioner to say, here's what's best medically. Do you want to do it? And so I think that what Catherine's company, it's Fursure, it's getfursure.com. It's a insurance brokerage company. So they really help you decide on what's the best pet insurance. So Catherine, what is the process? How will this work for the average pet owner who's just thinking about usually they have a puppy or kitten and their veterinarian says, hey, I think you should get insurance. And then they go, which one? And they go, well, here's the 3 we have. And then they struggle because every vet gives 3 different names.
Absolutely. So I think this is one of those things where insurance, just as a society, is not something that we spend a ton of our time thinking about, ruminating over, wanting to spend any time delving into. And it's also not something that we're super familiar with. And certainly we're not going off shouting on the rooftops, look how amazing my insurance plan is. And so I think because of that, it kind of just lives underneath the surface. And then you have pet insurance, which is not something that we're very familiar with. And it also doesn't operate like human health insurance or any of the other flavors of insurance that we already don't really like spending our time thinking about. And so you combine those together. And I think that there's actually a lot of eagerness, I would say, on the part of the pet owner these days to be like, hey, I know that I have an Australian Shepherd, or I have a German Shepherd, or I have a French Bulldog, and you think about the specific breed, specific risks that may occur. And I'm loving seeing that, because I think that means that there's an education element to it where you're already going in kind of informed and knowing what you should be prepared for. So what we tend to do is we'll bring people into our system, whether they hear about us through their friends. We have around half of our customers are referring other people, which is amazing. We don't even have a referral program. So there's some basic things that we need to do there to make that piece easier. But folks will find us through whatever mechanism. Actually, a lot of folks are now finding us through their veterinarian or through their shelter or breeder, these natural places to be thinking about caring for your pet. And they'll come in and they'll give us information about their specific pet's age, breed, gender, zip code, as well as kind of some other factors to consider, right? Your lifestyle or your budget range. Is there a cap that you don't want to go above? Have you had pets before, or your first time pet owner? What things really worry you and concern you versus things that you don't necessarily want to get coverage for? Because I think at the end of the day, you want to know that you're getting the best value for coverage, but also that your pet is going to get access to the care that they need when they need it the most. And I think that because pet insurance is actually such an important decision, a lot of people want to take the time to do it right, do some research, and get some help from an expert to be able to get really confident that they're making the right choice and that they have the best plan set up for them. The one thing that I'll also say that makes it even more important to make the right choice is something called pre-existing conditions, which I think a lot of us are familiar with, which is just such a headache and heartache. It's a regulatory idiosyncrasy, essentially, that makes it such that if something happens to your dog or cat before you get insured, no insurance company will ever cover that thing ever. Like there's a time and place if it heals and it's one of the curable conditions, but just think about it from that standpoint. It behooves you to get on pet insurance much earlier, right? In the lifetime before anything has a chance to happen. And so I think making that decision up front will set you up really well, and you can stay on that plan for the long term, knowing that your pet is going to be covered when you need it. But it is very much a long-term decision that you're making.
Yeah. And so I just come back. I have a puppy or kitten, and my vet says get insurance, and I've got the 3 pamphlets here, and I peruse them, and then and they go, well, if you're undecided, go to getfursure.com. So I go to the website. I'm answering these questions, and is it an algorithm? How does it work? How does this matching work? So like let's do worst case scenario. When you said French Bulldog, I'm like. So it's like we joke when we get a French Bulldog puppy come in. First thing we did, okay, number 1 on our list is talk about pet insurance. Right?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, help me help you as a Frenchie owner. Let me please just help you out.
So I have a French Bulldog, and my vet says, hey, that everything is good on this visit, and it's now the time to get pet insurance. And so I'm putting in all the stats and everything like that. So how does it link me with the best insurance? How does it work?
So we actually have 2 different ways, and I think we kind of cater to the 2 different types of ways that people like to receive information. So one is on the phone. People actually want to get on the phone and talk about their pet, talk about their backgrounds, talk about their history, talk about what matters to them, what type of coverage they're looking for, what type of coverage they're not looking for, and then ultimately get confident after the phone call that they have the best setup. And so we actually have a flow where we'll talk to a pet owner, give them the nuggets and gotchas that they need to know, listen and learn about their particular situation, take those factors, and then manually go find them the best plan.
Wow.
We have ways that we do it in an automated way, which is actually the second way that we help people, which is just totally automatic on the website. You can enter in all that information. The top two that surface are using our scoring mechanism. We joke about this because my co-founder and I both have backgrounds in technology and have worked in machine learning, but people say, oh, your sophisticated algorithm. And really what it is we're just taking into account a bunch of different factors that are important to the pet owner, factors related to the fine print of the policy details and the nuances and coverage there, and then matching people to the best plans for them, given the inputs that we have. And so we take all of those factors into consideration. We bubble up those top two. You can click through, get some more education on why these are the best plans for you. How should I think about them in comparison to the other ones? What are other people saying about them? Because of course, reviews are very binary. People has a great experience, or most people have bad experiences. So they'll kind of trend in that direction. So taking into account all that information to make you feel like you have enough information to make the decision that you want to make. And what we often find actually is because a lot of folks will, care for their pet like their kid, they'll think about this decision in that way. There's a lot of folks that are also co-parenting or practicing parenting on their dogs and cats, and they want to talk to their significant other or their spouse. And so they'll mull on the decision, use kind of our materials to support that decision-making process, and then ultimately make the final call and then go from there.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, you bring up a very good point. I don't know how many times the significant other has to be part of that conversation. Yeah, it's so funny. But one thing I'd like to bring up, and I think we touched on this when we're getting to know each other, is that this is no cost to the pet parent, right? It's not like you charge to do all this legwork, which we don't want to do. It's amazing. So I think that is a huge thing. So remember, this is not going to cost you anything. It's going to cost a little time to do some clicks or get on the phone, and they're going to do all the hard work for you. I think that is a huge, huge thing.
Absolutely. And I actually keep hearing this from folks. We should do a better job of making that as obvious as possible, because we are totally free to the pet owner. That's the whole point, is to build trust and a relationship with the pet parent, help them with this difficult to navigate first problem that they have. And then of course, then we can, earn the right to continue to help them down their journey. But I think this first problem is we're fully free to the pet owner, and how we make money is we have relationships with all the reputable pet insurance companies. So Pet Plan included. If you decide to go through us to sign up with our referral link with any such company that we think is the best for you, that you think is the best for yourself, then we make a commission on that policy sold. And the whole purpose is to build a long-term relationship relative to, I'm not sure if you have seen this before. I'm sure plenty of people have. If you try to get a quote on a website and they monetize off of a pay-per-click model, meaning they will send your data, your email to all the different insurance companies and monetize multiple times off of your information, meaning you'll then go into all of their different marketing mechanisms and get spammed by 12 different companies. That doesn't seem like a good experience to me. And so the flip side of that is what we do, which is probably not the smartest business model to get off with, just to get started off with, but we want to do right by our pet parents and start off on the right foot.
No, and that's great. And you're analogous to veterinarians. We want to do right by our pet parents, right? And so we do a lot of stuff for free or whatever. And so, no, I think that's great. And as well as Apple does their privacy, I still need that. I don't want to be spammed. I don't want to be on a website and find a pair of shoes that I don't know would suit me or anything like that. So I think that is great. That is phenomenal. Okay, we'll take another short break. And we'll come back and we'll talk more with Catherine Denning of getfursure.com. You're listening to Your Pet Matters right here on 1077thebronx.com. Bring in. Welcome back. And if you're just joining us, I'm having this great discussion with, I'm a Canadian. This is a Marinasian, but it's great. It's just having a great discussion with a wonderful young entrepreneur. I bet you know what, Catherine, I'm probably going to see on the billionaires under 35 list soon. I can totally see this, but she's created this wonderful product for both you as pet parents and both me as a veterinarian and a pet parent to help guide us on the best match for pet insurance. Pet insurance is a huge topic the cost of veterinary medicine, in order for veterinary to provide the best medicine, especially those emergency centers that do MRI, CT scans, high-end surgery. We're talking dialysis now for kidney patients. Unfortunately, there is an inherent cost to that. And so a lot of pet parents are faced with that difficulty in wanting to do the best for their pet, but where am I going to get the finances for that? And that's where pet insurance can come in, and they can help you a lot. And a lot of pet insurance will cover 80 to 90% of the bill. So it's really important to think about that. It's really important to get insurance at a young age. And the difficulty comes from, well, what insurance do I get? And that's where Get Fursure comes into play. And so, Catherine, from my standpoint, from a veterinarian, right? So I'm able to easily go, listen, go to getfursure.com and all your questions will be answered, and then bring Fluffy back next week.
I love it. Oh, yes.
But so from the pet parent standpoint, we already cued in on the fact that this is not costing you pet parents a single dime. And in the end, you're going to get a better relationship with your pet, with your veterinarian. But from the vet side, is it like it's something that I just have to recommend, right? I don't have to sign up for anything, or there's no so-called relationship. We just recommend the service to our clients, right?
Absolutely. I think what a lot of veterinarians and even now shelters and breeders and rescues are also getting faced with are pet parents are asking, should I get insurance? And if so, what should I get? And of course, then your response is, yes, you should get it. And we don't want to recommend any or one particular one, or we don't know, you should do your own research. And so now instead, the conversation can say, yes, you should get it. We highly recommend it. It's a good tool to amortize costs over the lifetime of your pet and not have to make important medical decisions based on financials and be restricted and have that conversation, take that turn and have that traumatizing burden when the time comes. Hopefully it doesn't, knock on wood, but if it does, then you're prepared. And so now you can say, check out Fursure. They're a great starting off point. They'll personalize your options for you. And then you can go from there. And we have these brochures that we'll send out to some vet clinics if that's the way that they want to communicate that information to the customer, or just over the phone or in that natural conversation. They can just slip that in there and have folks come to our website and mark down that they came from their vet clinic, and then they're good to go.
That is excellent. And have you been able to, since you're having these relationships with shelters, vet practices, et cetera, are you seeing a huge uptake in the amount of pets getting insurance because of your service?
I think when you look at the macro trends too, during COVID, especially, I think a lot of folks, frankly, we're lonely, we're grinding, we're doing the best we can. And pets now more than ever bring us a ton of joy. And because we spend a ton of time at home, everyone and their mother who ever wanted to get a dog or a cat and wanted to have their pet, we're like, I'm just going to do it today. I'm going to do it now. Now is the best time. So we're definitely seeing a huge uptick. I think the percentage increase in folks that are signing up for insurance, I saw some stat in this broker magazine the other day that it's 700% or something.
Yes.
7% increase in people getting insurance, which I'm so excited for.
Yes.
And then I think that we're just playing our own small role, but I think the way that we're coming from it is we really want to be the voice of the customer and be there for pet parents and be supportive in that decision. If you have a really old pet that has tons of pre-existing conditions and it's just a tough time overall, pet insurance is probably not the best option for you if it's going to cost a ton and not cover what you want it to cover. And so I think we are the ones that are able to have an honest and forthcoming conversation with the pet owners and really do what's right by them. And I think that that's ultimately at the end of the day what builds trust.
Yeah, that's a very huge point. Very huge point. And I'm going to take that to heart when I talk to clients and everything. Yes, we're just concentrating on getting them while they're young and dumb.
Absolutely.
Young and dumb and healthy.
Exactly. They're young, they're fresh, they're ready to get some good protection, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. And then I always tell clients that I say, inevitably in every pet's life, there is going to be either major trauma or major medical illness in their life. And that's where pet insurance alone will just pay itself off. So yeah, but this is a great, I can't tell you, like I told you before, talking to my team about the concept of this, it's amazing. It's phenomenal. It is the trend for the future and I love it.
Makes me so happy to hear. Yes, this has been such a fun conversation too. I'm loving this. Can't wait to meet more of your team too.
Yeah. Can we just change gears right now? And, I think you're in a very unique position. And I've already discussed this a few times with fellow Asian veterinary practitioners and everything, that right now we're in a situation of a lot of you know, malice and anger and negativity towards the Asian community. And I just wanted to get your viewpoints on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is a really difficult time for so many, as well as, you know, actually just all of us, right? Period. And I think just from my perspective, I was born and raised in Hong Kong and China. So I grew up in another country, and then I came here to America, and I've always felt welcome here. And so it makes me sad to see what's happening right now. I do think that for the folks that are rallying for Asian American rights and just the Asian community, I think that that piece is one that excites me, because there should be so much optimism, and hopefully that can negate some of the malice and the anger and the negativity that you're mentioning. And I do think that from where I sit too, the folks that I like to surround myself with and look up to are my strong Asian women leaders. So for example, we just raised a little bit of money for our company, and one of our angel investors is Katrina Lake. And she was the first woman, not even Asian, first woman to take a tech company public. Like, how amazing can you get as a strong mentor and leader? And so I think that there's so many things that we can do to promote that and have that be a stronger part of our culture and our community story.
No, that's great. That's great. That's a great viewpoint. I've been fortunate. I haven't. I always tell the story that my experience towards just some of the ignorance was, I went to school in Prince Edward Island, and my wife is Caucasian, and she went to one side of the antique store, and I went to the other. And a lot of Japanese tourists go there. And the guy came up to me, and he literally said, "Hi, can I help you?" And I turned to him, I go, "No, man, I'm just looking." And the look of surprise on his face was amazing. So that's the sort of exposure I've been to. And I don't know if it's because I speak so fluent, and everything like that. And on the phone, you can't tell what a race is, right? And so I've just been fortunate that way. But I hear, my mom was interned in World War II back in Canada, in one of the internment camps. So I understand that whole concept. And the sad irony of that is that gave her drive, and that drive was placed down to my generation too, to not only prove ourselves as citizens of the country, but to just be successful. And I think that, I'm grateful for that.
Well put. I hear that every week, actually, when people say, "Oh, you're so fluent in English." And I say, "Oh, well, I did grow up speaking English and went to an international school. My dad's from St. Louis, Missouri. My mom's from Beijing, but I grew up in Hong Kong. They're still there." And I think it's baffling to some folks, but I think that there's a difference between blatant ignorance and a little bit of disrespect versus folks that are just genuinely interested and fascinated. They've never been to different parts of the world, and they're kind of opening up their horizons as well. And so we do our best to kind of open up their minds as well, and see where that can go. But it's still crazy to me that it's 2021 and there's still issues like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. But everything's changing and changing for the good. So that's awesome. Hey,
Absolutely.
Speaking
A
of
lot
Hong
to look
Kong,
forward to.
awesome. And speaking of Hong Kong, I do know someone who has a referral center there, and I didn't know if the trends towards pet insurance are the same there. Okay, I'll connect you.
So I think what's really cool about what's happening in Hong Kong as well as China, I don't always put them two and two together because that's a very loaded issue, but I do think that there's a lot of folks that are getting pets, and it's a similar trend. I don't know that they view their pets quite the same as, "This is my son, this is my daughter, this is how I'm raising my kid, that's my fur baby." But I think that there's a ton of love and excitement and a lot of just opportunity to make that process easier. There's some fun stories coming out of there about like fun experiences for dogs and for cats and boarding centers and things like that. And so I think we'll have a lot more exciting things to see in the future.
Well, I think the trend is like for pet care is high because like my friend owns a specialty center there. I mean, so they're doing like high end stuff there. So and I see posts every week about this. So yeah,
everyone wants the best for their pets, as they should.
Absolutely. That's the way it should be. That's the way it absolutely
exactly
should be. Okay, well, Catherine, as always, with great discussions, time just flies. And I wish we had another hour more to talk, but we're at the end of our show. And so I'd like to thank Catherine for being a special guest on my show. Remember, everyone, getfursure.com. Fur spelled F-U-R. Getfur, S-U-R-E, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Nailed it.
And I'm telling you, it will change. It's going to change my life. It'll change your life. It'll just be so good. So good. And remember, everyone, love your pet like they love you unconditionally. Have a great day. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks so much for having me, Doug. How amazing.
Thank you so much. I think it's so good. But, I think that, moving forward, can you send me some pamphlets?
I would love
Do
to.
you have any digital things that I can put on social media too?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that and we'll get started. So I just wanted to wait till I talk to you. So next meeting, guess what we're going to do? We're not going to be pushing particular insurance. We're going to be pushing Get for Sure. Guaranteed.
Oh, baby. Yes, let's go.
Okay, Catherine. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay,
So great
bye.
chatting with you. And we'll
So
talk
good
soon.
chatting with you. Bye.
Bye.